Welcome, welcome. It is Friday night. We hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. My name is Jalen Vasquez. I am the community manager and events coordinator here for Freelancers Hub. Welcome to our second part of Thou Art Pay Us with our two wonderful guests, Tasha Duget and Autumn Brown. Have a very wonderful conversation with you tonight. They're going to be talking about pretty much about business, money, and everything about living life as a creative as well. They also have wonderful special guests for you tonight, so you're definitely in for a treat. This event is being recorded as well, so if you'd like to rewatch it, you could definitely rewatch it later. We'll send you a link out as well, and then I know Tasha and Autumn will have a link as well for them to share with their community. Yeah, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jalen. Hey, everybody. I hope you enjoyed your day off. I personally was not celebrating pilgrims coming here to the States and this messed up type of arrangement. However, want to first acknowledge the indigenous land that we are all on. We don't want to perpetuate whitewashing or any of that sorts, but we are here today because it is Black Friday. And we want to celebrate Black creatives who are also entrepreneurs, right? And that's why we called it Black HERchandise. So before we get into that, I had a great time, real low key, with just my intimate family, mom, dad, and my sister. What about you, Autumn? How did you spend your day off?
I didn't get to have the day off. I tried to make sure that I was manageable with how I worked with my time yesterday. But I did have a really good Trader Joe's pizza. It was like a Thanksgiving dinner because it was so tasty.
Food is food. And if it
Right?
tastes good, then that's what matters. Okay.
Jalen, what about you? What did you do for Thanksgiving?
I went to my uncle's in Long Island with my grandmother. I'm still here now for the weekends. Pretty much it was just like 5 of us, and we just ate so much food and just had pie and just watched a few movies. So that's about it. Nothing too crazy, pretty chill, pretty relaxed. But I mean, it's family. It's who we have, and we're very happy and just kind of lucky and grateful for everything. And yeah, so no complaints.
Yeah, that sounds lovely.
Definitely much to be thankful for, and I will be anticipating a plate in the mail whenever you get a chance.
From Long Island.
There's nothing but a Long Island Railroad trip away, okay? Put that out there. Again, thank you all for coming to Thou Art Pay Us Black HERchandise. We have some amazing guests here with us today, and we're just gonna jump right on in because we know you wanna see them and you wanna hear from them. So first off, we are going to introduce Rochelle Negron. I mean, I'm gonna start right off with her bio. Rochelle's typographical alchemy is transforming phrases from literature, affirming quotes, and pop culture references that inspire her into hangable and wearable artworks. With Rayo and Honey, her canvas pennants and totes are hand-cut, pieced, and sewn. Glass, wood, and acrylic goods are etched and hand-painted, all resulting in goods with positive intent that are soulful art with a timeless aesthetic. Welcome, Rochelle.
Hi.
Let me tell you, y'all, I'm gonna do a little brief story on how I met Rochelle. I think it was like an Essence festival or something like that. And I had walked by your table once or twice, and something told me to come back. And I came back, and literally right at the table, I saw a pin, because I love pins, as you can see, that said, smile on face, machete in hand. And I remember saying, do you know me? Because clearly that was for me. You literally spoke to my spirit. And I love that Autumn has the hanging pennant in the back right now. Like, how
and
did
I
you...
have it all the time. It's like a staple for me now.
It's a way of life, Rochelle.
I'm so glad, because that's what it's supposed to be.
Thank you. Thank you for many of us that can't articulate the spirits that we carry. And that is a beautiful summation of all of that. Okay.
And your work is actually a part of how Tasha and I met each other, Rochelle.
That's why
I got this piece in Miami last year.
Oh, wow.
And exactly. Yeah. Tasha was the person that was like explaining your work. And I was like, oh, hell yeah. Can I get this? And can I get like some lapel pins too? And I still wear your lapel pin.
That's dope.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're gonna get to you in a little bit. We're gonna go bring on Simone Brisi-Ando. Okay. Simone Brisi-Ando is a multi-hyphenate global PR expert and serial entrepreneur. Her current creation is her unique healing and spiritual tool brand that uses West African ancestral technologies to heal, manifest, and connect. The Brisi-Ando Tools for Living brand stands as a love letter to the diaspora, helping combat harmful systems and ideologies. Welcome, Simone.
Hi everyone, how you doing?
Good, good.
Oh, Simone. Where does one begin?
Yes, it's a lot.
Listen, I went to an event at Heal House in Brooklyn, and the topic was around ancestral and spiritual connectivity, I believe, something along those lines. And you were there with Yaba Bay and Reezy Cat. And I just remember your energy just drawing me in. And I was like, she's feisty. She's real feisty. I love it. And then hearing about your product, you know, creating these guidance cards specifically with a West African influence, I was like, okay. And then the candles, and I just saw them just like going off the shelves, and I just remember them saying like, oh, we always selling out. So I can't wait to talk to you, for all of us to talk to you and hear more about your product and the new things that you have coming up in the works.
Thank you. Great.
Welcome, Simone. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's good to be here, and I'm in fine company. So I really want to say respect to the other two ladies, and it's really great to be here with you guys.
Yes. So now we're going to welcome our third guest, Ada Rojas. She is a proud Afro-Latina and combines her background in marketing and public relations with her passion for beauty, inner and outer, to celebrate her Dominican roots and cultivate the Afro-Latina community at large. For the last 10 years, she's built a strong community of vecinas. That's what she calls her crew. We're her vecinas. Through her digital platform, allthingsada.com. Her unmatched dedication to hard work, her ability to truly connect with tens of thousands of women around the country, and her passion for beauty and all things entrepreneurship have led her to launch multiple businesses that intentionally cater to the wants and needs of women globally. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you guys.
Okay, so how did you meet Ada?
It was that this year? Earlier this year? Oh, it feels so long ago. That was a different pre-COVID world. Yeah. She was here in LA. We had a really cool brunch together.
Yeah.
We spoke on a panel together.
Yeah.
Yes, Ashley. Shout out to Ashley.
You need to meet Autumn. She's so amazing. Like, she would not stop talking about you. I'm like, okay, I need to connect with this girl.
Yes. And we had such a cool connection when you were in the city. I remember we spoke on the phone for a lot before we actually got to meet in person. And I felt like how infectious your energy was just when we would speak to each other. So it's been so cool to just see you flourish and do so much dope, entrepreneurial, necessary shit. So I'm excited that everybody will get to hear about your journey today. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
So clearly we got a matter of fact, we have a great bunch of women here present to talk about some things, and we're gonna just go for it. All right, so the first question is, do you define yourself as a creative, an artist, or both? And why?
Who goes first? Okay, I guess I'll start. I define myself as a creative just because I have a lot of reverence for artists, so I wouldn't say that I'm an artist because I don't create art. But I would definitely define myself as a creative because I use my creativity to create things, and I don't necessarily like to stay in a certain category. I like to just create beautiful things, and So I'm a creative.
Awesome.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what she said. I do consider myself an artist, and I feel that with that, that also holds a lot of weight, because I've said I'm an artist, and then people will say, "Oh, well, what gallery were you in?" And oh, have I seen any of your shows, or where are you? And I'm like, well, my work actually appears in over 10,000 homes. So
That's what I'm,
Yes!
yes,
Flex, flex!
that's what I'm talking about, y'all. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm a creative, but I think for me, because I tactically with my hands literally make art, that's who I am. But I'm also a brand builder, I'm also a graphic designer. I'm also, the person who has built, who has taken this structure with the basis of my art and created myself as a brand and used my artwork to create a brand. So therefore I'm an artist, but I'm also a creative. I think it's important to not get caught up, because I used to get real sore when people would say, "Oh, you're a maker." Like I would say, "I'm an artist," and they would say, "Oh," and I would explain, I'm a typography artist, I work with textiles, fiber art, blah, blah, blah. And they would come back at me and say, "Oh, you're a maker." And I would feel slighted by that. But I realized I only felt slighted by that because I didn't feel like the title they were trying to give me, I didn't feel like it encompassed everything that I am. So I do love the term creative, because I think it allows people to have so many more things under that umbrella. You know what I mean? You're able to do so much. And the reality is that it's about using your creativity. Whatever falls into that, it's about using your creativity.
I just want to say, Rochelle, you had the best comeback of the century. My work is in 10,000 homes. Boop.
That was good.
True
That
to
was
it.
the best comeback ever. I appreciate you. We don't need to do anything more, but we will continue, because I know the rest of y'all have so many more gems. But what about you, Simone?
So my background is PR and marketing, right? So we are we pull the strings, we're puppet masters, we make things happen. So being a creative was someone I would hire. And also part of being a PR and marketing and building brands, you have to have an eye. You have to know how you want to communicate your brand through visual arts, through graphic design, through all of those things. You have to be very specific in that, because who are you talking to? How is it going to connect with them and things like that? So I have an eye, right? I have an eye, and I have very expensive taste, and my budget rarely fits with my taste. And so this is where we end up, right? We end up with me, and also I've got Virgo throughout my chart, so I'm really doolally in terms of perfection and detail and how it's got to look, and no, this is not going out because my name's on it, so we're going back to the drawing board. So I don't know, I think I'm a neurotic manifester, and I'll say Makela market woman. So Makela market is this huge market in Accra, Ghana, right? And it's run by women. And I'm telling you, the feminine divine energy that is there, and they're hustling and they're generating income for their family, and they are running the economy. Makela market women run the Ghanaian economy, seriously. And they have before, and they have, and they do today. And so that's where my energy is. Like, I'm always creating something out of nothing. It's like, okay, I'm just going to create a brand today out of things that we've never had before. So I'm a Makela market woman. Yeah, that's what I am.
Love it.
I like that.
What do you got? What do you got after that, Autumn? I'm speechless.
Well, I'm really curious from how all three of you actually describe your creativity. Entrepreneurship plays such a big role in it. When did you self-identify as an entrepreneur, and what were some of the early roots of entrepreneurship that you had in your journeys?
For me, I self-identified in 2015. Actually, I had just finished graduating college. I went to school for PR and advertising. And I was like, I felt very uncomfortable with my life. I'm uncomfortable being so comfortable. Like everything is too like perfect. Like I need something crazy to happen, right? So I got a job working on a cruise ship in Australia selling artwork. So random. And one of my college roommates, that's what she was doing. And I was like, hey, like, and anyways, I got into the company, I got the job. I went to go work, you know, on this ship, and it was the craziest experience of my life. And I came back, and I think I needed to be isolated away from everything that was comfortable to me to really hone in on like, what is it that I want to do with my life? I had just turned 25. So, you know, you have that like quarter life crisis of like, what am I doing?
Yes.
Right. So all of that came together for me to be like, you know, I had already been blogging for 5 years, and I'm like, you know what, when I get back home, like, I'm not going to get a real job. I really feel like I can just keep pouring into my blog and keep pouring into like social media and digital marketing. And I really feel like I can make something out of this. And like looking back, there's so many moments in my life, even growing up, that I'm like, I've always had this creativity in me, and I've always had this hustle, and not even hustle, because I don't even like to use that word anymore. I've always had this just passion for like very entrepreneurial. So in high school, I used to sell Avon. So the girls would be like, I like your lipstick. And I'm like, you could buy it from me. I'll bring it to you during lunch next week. And then I used to be collecting my coins during lunch and then giving everyone their lipsticks, you know. In college, I used to make like Betty Crocker cakes like for my friends for their birthday, and somebody's like, yo, can I pay you to make me one of those cakes? I'm like, a box cake? Like, you could just buy this and make it yourself. They're like, yeah, but I don't have time. Can you just make it? So I started selling box cakes for $20 for people's birthday. Like, I've always been like, you know, and it's just so incredible to see that journey and be like, I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Even if I don't know what I'm doing, I know what I'm doing.
Yep.
Like, and it's so beautiful. It's so beautiful to be in that energy.
So
What
I
a
just
gift.
want to say, so I'm gonna make some connecting of the dots. So while you were selling Avon and you were making those cakes, right? Simone was doing $5 manicures. Is that what I read?
Yeah, you remembered. Yeah, that was my first venture in what you guys call high school, secondary school. So I think I was maybe around 13 or 14. I have always been crazy about nails and nail art. It's like a whole thing. First of all, I'm from South London, and you know, hoop earrings, scraped up bun tops, nails. This is how we live, right? This is our uniform. And so I've always been into it. It's nail art. And so French manicures were the lick then. And then I was like, I can do this. There's a bit of white nail varnish on top and some nice sort of pearl fresh on top of that. And I can do it. And so I started to do it. I was awful, but people were paying for it. I think they liked the experience of being, you know, pampered. And so I think it was $3 actually, which is $5. Sorry, I think it's £3, but which is $5. And I would do the girls kind of in our lunch break, and I'll be like, come, get your nails done. And that was the first entrepreneurial venture of mine. But it really has just flowed through my life. And, you know, I never used that title entrepreneur until really, I would say my 30s, to be frank, because for me, you know, I always had these tight ideas about entrepreneur means you have to generate a certain amount of income or have a shop or people buy stuff from you. But I've been running, you know, my boutique PR company for like 10 years. And so this is a service, this is a consultancy. So I don't have products. You're buying my IP, my experience, my connections, my time. So I always felt a little bit like, well, am I really an entrepreneur? And I never really had a staff. I would hire in other freelancers. So there was always these things that I always put in front of me saying I'm an entrepreneur. But when I look back, I've been one from day one. And it's kind of, I'm not gonna say weird, but my mum and dad weren't entrepreneurs. They were civil servants, right? Civil servants in Ghana, then they came over to England in the 60s, and then civil servants in the UK government until retirement. So they know 9-to-5 life. You know, to the point my mum still asks me, when are you going to get a job? Like, she still asks me that. Yeah. She kind of gets what I do, but then she's kind of like, yeah, but when are you going to get a job? Like, they can't connect with that. And it's kind of like, well, you know, I think you should feel safe that I've been able to eat from my whole kind of creativity for the last kind of 15 years. But no, she still asks, when are you going to get a job? So yeah, I'm an entrepreneur, serial one. Like it's been serious. I've had a non-profit, I'm Possible, which is a global empowerment network for women and girls of color, and that started in 2009. And that was because there was such a dearth of platforms that were supporting Black women in England and Europe. And I've always loved New York, and I came over and I was so blessed to go to Black Girls Rock before it was televised. And so it moved me, you know, and at that point I was the global PR manager for Sony Ericsson. And so I went there and I was moved and I was like, oh my God, this is just the best thing. And being an impulsive fire sign, I went and I resigned with no plan, no money, no nothing. And then I created I'm Possible and my PR business at the same time. And so they've been chugging along, you know, since, 2011, 2010. And so, yeah, I honestly, I've had no plans. I've just, you know, fire blasted my way into situations, which is good and bad.
So we're gonna take that fire and connect it right over to Rochelle, because we know you got some fire, right? You know, doing, you know, a little background and seeing that your brand, and you had a brand before Rayo and Honey, came to existence because you saw that there was a void when it came to what you wanted culturally to be representative with the clothing that your children were wearing.
Yeah,
So talk a
absolutely.
little bit how that then blossomed to where you are now.
Well, my first job was at 11, 12 years old in a metaphysical bookshop, which, if you know me, kind of is fully on brand. 100%. But so I've had retail jobs, you know, while other kids had like, you know, like babysitting jobs or whatever, I always had some sort of retail job, or I turned my little job into a retail job. So it was like, oh, I'm gardening. Wait a second. Let me garden for everybody on this block. You know, like it was always holding down multiple jobs. I like to say in a past lifetime, but really just many years ago, I was in television development, Viacom, VH1, and I got pregnant with twins and decided, literally they were on the planet like here for about 6 minutes. And I was like, okay, so we're not going back to that. Like nope, not gonna happen. Because I just, you know, again, I don't like to agree with you. I don't like to use the word hustle anymore either, but the idea was I'd been grinding since I was 12. And the idea that I would leave these two beings to go work for someone else for a 15-hour day was horrifying to me. Like it was like dread. So during my pregnancy and after I gave birth, I was looking for, now this is in 2004, 2005. So a boy and girl twins. So I'm looking for clothes that speak to my cultural background. Black, I'm Puerto Rican, you know, I wanted things like, you know, when I walk into a baby store, I'm looking for that. It's very different now. You can find anything you want, you know what I mean? But you can go on Redbubble or Zazzle and make whatever you want. Couldn't do that in 2005, you know? So when I was looking for my, like, you know, Black Power fist, it just didn't exist. You know, when I was looking for something that spoke to Puerto Rican culture, when I was looking for something that said Palante on it, it didn't exist. And I really complained to basically everyone I knew about how it irritated me that there were things I couldn't find. And my friends were like, why don't you just do it? So I was like, oh, word. So I literally taught myself Photoshop in my children's room in the middle, you know, as they slept in the dark on a computer, and launched online onesies and children's clothing. And then I was like, no, I want to do more. So I started thinking about clothing that spoke to a more cultural connection. I connected with women's co-ops in Latin America and Puerto Rico, different places. And I actually began to create my own patterns and have clothing made by these other women and brought here, and I sold on my website. My website then turned into a store in Dumbo, and then a second store in what was called DeKalb Market, which was a collection of stores and event spaces, all made out of shipping containers in downtown Brooklyn, where the second Target is, if you're from Brooklyn. But, you know, everything kind of led, I like to say, flowed into one another. My kids reached a certain age, around 2012. And for me, I began to look at the reality of what retail stores were. And I was like, retail stores are not like brick and mortar. This is a problem. You know, it's one thing if you sell $700 like one piece items, but to have a children's store where I sold many little things or little prices means you have to sell a lot of little things.
Simone is
You know,
cracking up. She's like, I know.
learn, live and learn. You learn so much. So the name of that company was Little Poco, because I have twins. There's always a duality in everything I do, the Spanish and the English. So Poco being little for my twins. Rayo and Honey is now, Rayo in Spanish is lightning, and Honey, my children, are literally those things, the entity of those things. And it's also like a wink and a nod to those who pay attention, but it's also Chango no Shun, which is who's on my head. So there's little things that I like to do that for me are paying homage to the things that have led me to where I am with my business. But it started with retail and with engaging people one-on-one and what they wanted to purchase and what they wanted out of the thing that they were going to buy, right?
I mean, we could just tie that really quickly to like the ancestral, because it seems to be flowing through all of y'all practices, this ancestral connection, right? You just mentioned Shango and Oshun. Simone, you were talking about your West Indian. I'm not West Indian, Lord. That was a Freudian slip. That's my heritage. You said machetes and things like that. All that started to resonate, started to come out. I'm just gonna put those spirits behind me a little bit. But the Ghanaian influence around your practice, and then Ida, you also said that there was an ancestral connection to your work. So how does that? What is the relevance and the importance of that being visible to people in the product itself? In the things that you make yourself?
For me, it's really important because as I really grow as an entrepreneur, I'm really noticing that the more in tune that I get with myself spiritually, and the more that I let my heart lead me as an entrepreneur, the more success I have. So I'm always constantly reminding myself that I have to pour into myself. I have to tune in to me and my gifts. I have to honor those gifts. I have to show up fully. I have to honor the ancestors. Because in when I do that, it's like everything just flows with ease. Like some of the most incredible things in my life have happened with so much ease and flow, and it's because I'm operating from a very intentional space and I'm in tune with myself. And when I'm not, it's like I'm trying to make things work and they're just not flowing. So for example, in my last business that I had, actually I created a hairline that was called Botanica, inspired by the botanicas in my neighborhood. And just being able to tie, all the herbs. Like my great grandmother used to grow herbs in her backyard in Dominican Republic, and people would come to her house and they'd be like, I have a very bad stomach ache. So she would go and pick out all these herbs, make a tea, lay the people down, pray over them, like, and do all those things. Now with my new business that I have, Vecina Couture, I really wanted, Vecina means neighbor in Spanish. And I feel like with my digital community, we're all like, growing up in New York, you live in the same building all your life, your neighbors become your family. So I feel like my internet community is my digital neighbors, they're my family. And so I really, I'm always in a robe at home, and I always, like, when my great grandmother passed, we all fought over her robes, and I just felt like I didn't see a brand that was honoring, that was making comfortable housewares, because I love me a good muumuu, a kaftan, a robe. Like no one is making like traditional clothing for us and our families that really speaks to like the matriarchs. And I just found a connection on how we're all becoming the new matriarchs in our family. And we're all the first to have a lot, like I'm the first to graduate from college. I'm going to be the first millionaire in my family. Like we're all conquering all these first, and no one is really creating community around that. And what does it mean to be the new matriarch? Like I want to have a dope muumuu like my grandmother, but make it a little bit more fashionable. And that was really my inspiration for this new brand. So I just find a lot of inspiration in tradition, in my ancestors, and the work that I do as an entrepreneur will ultimately always lead back to honoring them and honoring where I come from. My great grandmother is a badass, or was a badass woman. Like I learned recently that she, in like, I don't even know what year, because we don't even know how old she was when she died, because she's from the freaking Campo in DR. when she left her home she left my great grandfather with the kids to go work in the Capitol and clean a family's home and send money back to him. That was like what, in the 1920s. Women don't do that.
Wow.
A Black woman leaving her house to go clean to send money back to her husband. And I'm like, that's who I come from. Like, how can I sit here and sit on my gifts and not honor that? How can I sit here, like, and if my great grandmother was alive, she probably wouldn't even understand what the hell I do, but it wouldn't matter, because it's like, she knows that I'm out here getting it. And at the end of the day, that's really it. So I have to honor that. And it exudes in everything that I do. And I don't know how to not honor who I am and where I come from and what I do.
Ashe. Yes.
Ashe, ay, bobo.
I mean, I think there's so much in listening. You know what I mean? Like, people will be like, oh, I had this feeling in my stomach. I'm like, call it whatever you want. Call it intuition. Call it dead people. Call it whatever you want to call it. But just listen to what they're saying, because it's never going to steer you wrong. You know what I mean? Every time I think about any business decision that I wavered on, and maybe I went right and I should have went left, I know for certain I was already hearing, go right, go right. You know, and that's just, I feel like as you get older and you start recognizing and acknowledging that, and also in a lot of ways, giving yourself the freedom to listen to that, and to, when your stomach turns in knots, to maybe take a step and give yourself a little time before you actually go and make that next decision or that next move. And, again, with the hustle and the grind and this idea that we're in this perpetual motion, and I'm not saying that we're not, if I wasn't here, I would most definitely still be working. But we can't lose, the connection to all the women that came before us, all the family members that came before us, and that have cleared this path. They've cleared this path to where we are right now. Now, in front of us, there may be a whole bunch of stuff still on the path, but to get up to this point, if we embrace that knowledge and knowing that, you never go wrong. You never go wrong. Every time.
It's interesting. When you hear entrepreneurs speak, they always talk of moments where they don't know, but they just did it and it all fell into place. There's always those, this just happened for me. And us who are ancestrally connected and speak to our spirits and our guides, we know what that is. We don't need to call it anything else. But you'll find that successful people who can make things happen, there's a guide. They're being guided. They're not doing it alone, whether they're in the physical realm or not. And so it's everything I've always done has been because of how I feel. You know what I mean? And I can't explain that. Like recently someone was saying, oh, you need to get people to invest and set up a Patreon and stuff. And I said, listen, I can't tell an investor, I can't quantify these feelings, but I'm going to tell him I'm doing this because this is what I need to do. And so this is why, I'm quite kind of apprehensive about, kind of building those frameworks into the business, because I have to work on my gut. I have to work with the flow of my ancestors. And that's not something that the business world kind of values, understands, and kind of gives space for. So I have to give it space. I have to breathe it out. And I have to navigate this business world with the ancestral world, and that's a heavy crown too. It's not easy, but it's me. I'm doing it. I have to do it. You know what I mean? Because it's purpose, and I can see this is the path. That's right. But yeah, it's an amazing road these ancestors have for us, beyond our wildest dreams. Whether the people say that we're our ancestors' wildest dreams, my God, what they have in store for us is wilder than we could ever kind of quantify or even imagine for ourselves. And I've been shown that. Like every time something's happened that's great, I'm like, oh my, okay, show me.
Like, word? Okay, sure, yes, let's go with that.
So I'm just like, let them, this will work a lot. It's all you. Thank you. I'll take that.
I'm so inspired by the intentionality that I hear you all lead with and listen to, especially because you make objects that carry that intentionality and live in people's homes. I'm curious about, the importance that you think objects have and what they can carry, and what objects you've made that you want to share with our audiences from your respective businesses.
Yeah, intention is everything. And I think whether it's the products you put in your hair, products that you put on your face, what you're wearing, like it says a lot about who you are, and in you putting it on makes you feel a certain type of way. So why wouldn't I be super intentional about something that I create that you're gonna physically put on, so that it can make you feel amazing, it can make you feel beautiful, it can make you feel more rooted, it can make you feel more in touch with yourself. And I think, you know, especially with the robe line, it's like, for so long, like, we never prioritize ourselves. We come from generations of women who never prioritize themselves. They always prioritize the family and everybody but them. So you know, with my robes, when people, like, I always go back to a feeling, right? How do I want people to feel? How do I feel? How do I want people to feel? And how can I evoke that through the brand? So it's like, I want you to wake up in the morning and put this freaking robe on and feel like a badass, like, I'm about to kill it today because I feel good. I feel luxurious. Like, I'm wearing this clothing item that makes me feel really like expensive and fly. And I'm floating. You're gliding in your home. You're not even walking. You're gliding to the kitchen to make yourself a cup of coffee, but not just regular coffee, because we don't do that, okay? A cup of Nespresso, because you can afford an espresso machine in your home. Like, it's the whole vibe, okay? But maybe on the weekends you want to, you know, take it back to your roots and you want to do the greca, the espresso maker on the stovetop, because you could do that too, okay? Like, that's the vibe I want to exude. And it's like, we deserve nice things. We deserve luxury. And I just want to create, I want to create that for us. And that's what I want to do with my robe line. Because again, we are the new matriarchs. So I want to set the standard now of us prioritizing ourselves now, because we have a lot on our plates. Like, being a matriarch comes with a lot. So set that standard of prioritizing yourself now, so that you can lead from a good place. And that's what I want to evoke with my robes.
Yes, I want to be a luxurious matriarch. Absolutely. Come on.
It's there for you. You know, it's already there for you. Just got to step into it.
So chime right on in, Simone, because I know you got a new item on your brand.
I do. This little golden baby. So my brand is like spiritual tools and home decor, right? And it's all sort of steeped in West African spirituality, particular the Akom tradition, Akan religion and cultural practices from West Africa, Ghana. And so I use the Adinkra symbols, which are ancient symbology language, right? And they precede everything. And so lots of the sayings that we have in English language, lots of the symbols that we use in generally are from the Adinkra. So the heart symbol is from the Adinkra. And this symbol right here, which I'm so sorry, there's so much reflection. Let me see if I can get it right for you. This is Bessie. Right, so Bessie Saka means kola nuts, and kola nuts was incredibly important to the Ghanaian economy. It was used as a trading tool, and so this is imbued with prosperity, it's imbued with abundance and success. And so I was like, yes, it's 2020. Yes, you know, COVID is doing what COVID needs to do, because it's here because it needed to be here. And I'm going to be audacious and, you know, my crazy self, and I'm going to put my name on a coin or money. I'm going to create a coin, which is called an Adinkra manifestation coin. And you will use this coin to supercharge your workings, your conjure, your manifestation, your visualization. And you will use this in a way, it could be an heirloom, it can be a talisman, it can be used in so many ways. People could use it for divination. But I wanted to create something that people could focus their intentions on, you know, like, there's so much going on in this world right now that we need to stabilize our thoughts and our energies, and sometimes focus them into, you know, focal points and projects and items. And so this is the item to do it with, supercharge your workings. And so this is my beautiful Adinkra manifestation coin. It was born on our 3rd anniversary, which was Wednesday, November 25th, which is also my birthday.
Congratulations.
Thank you. 3 years in this game. I'm such a baby in this with this business, but you know, I've got my eye on the prize, and there's going to be so much more. But this is an item. This is what we're rocking with now. So,
and guys, I just have to share this backstory because this is a full circle moment that we had.
Yes.
So somebody that I love on Instagram, Readings by Vida, I adore her, was like bragging on this coin and how she loves it and she's been using it, and it just spoke to me right away. I didn't even need to watch the whole video about her talking about the coin. And I went on the website and I bought it, and she's talking about this coin, and I'm like, was that the coin that I just bought a few days ago? It just got shipped out, and indeed it was. So this is such a full circle moment right now. I'm still dying over the fact that I bought this coin, and now I'm on a Zoom call with the person that created it. Like, I can't.
Yes, there are no mistakes.
See, the ancestors,
Right.
they knew it. They were throwing us together, and they're like, oh, you lot are gonna collaborate. You lot are gonna do some stuff. So it's so good, and I can't wait for you to receive it, and you know, good stuff.
I just want to interject around that, like, and it ties to what y'all were alluding to earlier, like the synergy and the ancestral connection, right? That only happens when you are in tune with your calling, and you are intentional around alignment. You know, like I shared the story about how Autumn and I connected. We shared the story about how Rochelle and I connected. Autumn shared the story around how Ida and her connected. But then in those connections, we find other connections. Ida and I have a connection in the Bronx. BX all day. You know, you just see how there are these points of intersection and connection. And I believe I was reading something about one of you amazing women, this shift around independence and this shift towards interdependence, right? We are all connected. We cannot do it if we just concern ourselves with the individual. It has to be around the collective I. And that's one of the reasons why we're even here today around Thou Art Pay Us, you know, having these moments and thinking like, why are artists and creatives having the same mistakes? It's because people are having siloed conversations. There isn't much transparency about what's going on, and there is an absolute need. There is no, I find myself like stupefied sometimes, like, well, why are you going through the same thing that I went through like 2 years ago? You know, and you see the story of where y'all all are in your points of your entrepreneurship. Rochelle, 5 years plus. We have Simone, who just made 3 years, and then we have Ida, who was just coming on board with a new project. So it's, and then to just see how unintentionally we find that intentionality to your own practices has connected you with people and brought y'all into the same space. So I just wanted to point that out, that, you know, like, we need to really like listen to the gut, listen to the spirit, and be moved by that, because it's telling us something for a particular reason, for a larger calling.
And to sit back and be pleased when we see it play out. It's nice when you can just kind of chuckle to yourself or kind of appreciate the little gift that you may have been given and just be pleased in it. Maybe surprised for a moment, but then just excited to jump in and pleased with the gift that lands in your lap.
Definitely. And I just like to say as well, because this entrepreneur journey is not easy. It might look it. We might look really fresh and fly and, you know, the rest of it. But half the time,
especially with your pink nails, Simone.
Oh, thank you, darling. This was a birthday manicure, so, you know, I felt like pink. But yeah, you know, so I barely comb my hair most days. I brush my teeth about 12 after I've packed up all the shipping and got that going. I've got to feed the dog. I've got to go for like the pressures and the reality of this entrepreneurial journey is also something that I want people to be quite aware of, because, you know, there's this whole rise and grind Twitter, right? Rise and grind Instagram, which is like, come on, girl, just throw out your job and, you know, leave your job today and start a new business. No, we're not independently wealthy. We won't do that. We're going to figure out how we're going to fund this business, maybe through a job, maybe through this, maybe through that. And I want people to really embrace their circumstances and work those circumstances, because that's what the root is of conjure, right? You work your circumstances, whatever you got. You know, I remember a friend of mine said, you know, before the wand, you know, your finger did the work, you know, before the spell, your voice is the spell. And it's always about, it's very much so in my businesses, I have had to use myself as the tool to generate, to create, to build, to be a foundation. I have had to do that because I didn't have these tools. I just have this. This is what it's been since I've left university, even before that. This is what it's always been. And no one can give it to me. They can influence it and affect it and cultivate it, but this is all me, you know? And so I just want people to be very aware that we talk, the reason we can speak to you right now the way we can is because of those experiences, good and bad, the struggle, the realness, you know. And just one little other point I wanted to make. Someone said, I saw a comment where someone said, I wish I had these types of ladies when I was growing up. And I just really, really want to say something to you. It's something I said on my birthday IG story. What we lack, we have to try and cultivate for ourselves in our life. We have to try and become those things that we lack. And I know there's a lot of grief and pain around those things, because sometimes it's about, you know, understanding that, well, why did this person who should have done that thing for me, why did they do that? Why didn't they show up for me? Why didn't they love me? Why aren't they here? But we have to cultivate what we lack. And very much so, my strength in being an entrepreneur has got better and got stronger because I've started cultivating the things I lack, right? And so it's just a message I wanted to push out there that, you know, we really, even if we are without, we have within. And so use within to create know without.
We always have tools. There's always
so
tools.
Beautifully said.
If we're starting exactly where we are, as opposed to starting where we were or starting where we're going to be, you know, it makes it easier to move forward. But it's, you know, I love the idea of cultivating, you know, because for me, it's, you know, gathering all these new tools. Like every misstep was a gift and a lesson, you know what I mean? And everything that proved exactly what I knew it was going to be was also another lesson, you know. I think it's kind of although it's a beautiful thing with social media and how, you know, I built my brand on Instagram and I've done that visually. It's beautiful to have been able to do that, but it's also tricky because people then believe that it's just
what they see.
You pop up and it's just there.
Yeah,
you
it's
know?
just there. You did it.
There's nothing. There's nothing you're gonna do or nothing you're gonna be involved in that just blam, boom, like it just happens.
Right.
And I think the idea of going viral, you know, is very, it's trickery. I like to say it's trickery because it convinces you that there's this magic bean, you know, that there's this formula, right? But what might be my formula isn't going to be your formula.
Exactly.
Right? And to add on to the tools that I take with that is to research. People will say, oh, look into the company that does something similar to you. And my advice is look into the 5 companies that do what you want to do that failed. And figure out why they failed. Because you're going to need failing lessons more than you're going to need the successful lessons.
Definitely.
The failing lessons, you know? And if you don't embrace every tool you got, you're going to be left without the things you really need when you need them.
That is a word.
That was beautifully said, Rochelle. Yes. So we call tips and advice like that loose change. So thank you for sharing that loose change with everyone. Could you tell us what intentional object of your creation you want everyone to know about?
Well, my slogan / catchphrase is goods with positive intent. So everything I make is intentional with the idea that you're going to connect with it, you're going to embrace it, and it's going to, I like to think of my penance as being like what you need when you need it. So sometimes one of my penance is your best friend patting your hand. Sometimes, you know, it's your people being like, get it together. You know, sometimes it's a little chuckle, you know. So that's what I had started with. And I've obviously branched out. My big milestone is that 5 of my totes were chosen for Oprah's favorite things this year.
Oh, God.
Congratulations.
Well done, lady.
I'd like to say that I never thought this would happen, but then I'd be lying because
Right.
I fully believe in manifesting, folks.
Right. Right.
But so my totes are, you know, in her favorite things list, but knowing that and that process, that process.
Can imagine.
Process.
Rigorous.
And also, like, I just want to tell this one little story because it's really humorous to me. So over this, you know, the process with Oprah's list is a long process, right? So during the summer, early summer, I get an email, and it's from a Gmail account, and it's like 3 sentences, like, oh, we'd like to talk to you about. I'd like to have a conversation with you about Oprah's favorite things. Call my girl. I'm like, yo, check out this scam. People trying to scam me. They want me to send them. They want them to send them my stuff. They want to trying to scam me. So I go. I research all the editors. I'm like, okay, he live here. She live here. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna take the call. I'm gonna take the call because you're not gonna get me. I'm gonna take the call, right? So I'm talking to who I now know was an editor, you know, but I'm talking and I'm like, yes. Oh, you want all this stuff sent. Okay, you know. And it was like over 16 pieces, like a lot of stuff was sent.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it wasn't like, here's the one thing. It was like, we want all of this.
We wanted all of it. Yeah.
It wasn't just like, we want what you have. It was like, we want you to do this, 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 and this. And I was like, whatever hoops you got, you know, I'm going right through. Just let me know.
Right.
So I'm going to tell you, until this woman gave me the address, and I knew I had researched the head editor and just happened to know that he had a vacation home and where it was. Until she said the address, in my brain, scam.
Right.
But I'm telling this story because in all of my successes, the reality is that I couldn't accept that success. That's why I thought it was a scam. So even though I was manifesting and I wanted these things, right? I still couldn't. I did the same thing. I was on Beyonce's Black Parade list. When that list dropped at 12 a.m., let me tell you how I ran to that list, because I knew in my gut, I was like, this is it. This is it. Finally, the connection to Beyonce. This is it. I ran through that list so quickly, I missed my own name.
Wow.
I went to bed angry, annoyed. Like, I was like, you know what? I'm going to bed. But again, not being able to accept the things that I've supposedly been prepared for, right? So I'm sharing this because I think that this is another place that we need to also work on as entrepreneurs and as women, is you can be prepared in every way to blow up. You can be prepared in every way for your success to grow into everything that you want it to be. But you also have to you got to get right in order to accept those things as well, you know?
Yes.
And it took me a minute. And what that led to was like physically not, when they let me know, oh, we don't just want 1 tote, we want 5 totes. I laid down on my living room floor because I felt like I was gonna pass out. I've never fainted in my life. I was like, I think this is what it feels like to get faint, you know? And I realized it was such a strong emotion because it was really hard to accept that the work that I had been putting in was being recognized.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? So I'm happy I'm on the side of having to work on that.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
But so because my totes are on that list, they're not like I have them, they're available through Amazon, so I don't have to do fulfillment for those. It's a whole thing. People are like, oh, you send them. I'm like, my factory is the other portion of my living room. Like, I don't I don't have room for
Same here.
Listen, that's a whole nother segment, you know, like how entrepreneurs store their stuff, where is it stored?
Oh my goodness.
You know, it's like underneath the desk. It could be just
you learn things. You learn things like, oh, that's how big a box of 25 is. That's how big a box of 50 pieces is.
Yeah.
You know, when you're like, oh, there's 10 boxes.
Right. Where the hell am I going to put it? Oh, it's my new dining table. Going to eat off it until we finish this.
COVID means we all up in here together. I mean,
Oh, yes.
you know, some of us got full households. I got twins. I got a partner, you know.
Right.
I'm like, you guys got to get off the factory floor for a couple of hours.
Right. I know.
For a couple of hours.
I put my dog away because I'm like, don't touch that. I don't want dog hairs over everything. Don't touch it. And he's just like, oh. And I'm like, go in the crate. Stay there. Don't touch things.
So my one intentional thing is that, so again, you're with the being an entrepreneur or being an artist or being a creative is, I'm sure everyone on this panel, his brain works way faster than it needs to and never stops. And you know, there's $1 million idea a second. So I'm always trying to flip what it is I do. So one of the things is, this is one of my best-selling totes. But what's different about this, and I also have Mama Raise a Revolution in black. What's different about this is the lettering is reflective. So,
Ciao.
Wow.
little something different, but those are exclusively on my site and not available
anywhere.
And your website is in the chat. All 3 websites are. That means that we can get a fly robe so that we can be luxurious matriarchs.
Yep.
While using our coins that we get from your website,
Lighting
Simone.
a candle, flipping a coin.
Yeah.
Lighting a candle and wearing a reflective tote bag from Rayo and Honey.
It's all
That's
about
for
being
Small
alike.
Business Saturday.
Yeah.
Listen.
And actually, you know what? For some reason, all of a sudden I had a vision that if you got all of our stuff, it's armor. We've actually just given you armor. I just had this vision.
Yes.
The bag is on your shoulder. You know, joy is my resistance. That's blocking all the bullshit out, right? The coin is flipping your abundance. It's multiplying it. It's tripling everything.
Absolutely.
And then we've got this moo on, which is just the shit, because we the matriarch.
Yes.
And we just need to show you about the feminine divide. It's like we've actually given you armor to survive, to thrive, and to push. Ooh, yeah. Sorry, that just
I love
literally.
I love it. All of
when
it.
Rochelle put the bag on your arm like that, I was like, armor. Yeah,
absolutely.
There you go.
Absolutely.
That's armor for you.
I mean, at this point, you know, these conversations can go on for forever and forever because we literally are living icons. You see, another slip, but a Freudian slip, because we know we're manifesting that right now, right? Icons. But we are living archives of our experiences, right? And there's an abundance of wealth of knowledge that we have ample to share and ample to receive. But, you know, I think that was a perfect place to like segue to the audience, you know, because I'm seeing the chat. The chat is live. People are like, oh my God. So if there's anyone in the audience that has a question for these amazing women, please put it in the chat because, you know, we are here not only for ourselves, but for you as well. This is a unique collective and where we want to make sure that there is that collective win. And I need to get some of that.
And while they're chatting, I just have to piggyback off of what both of these ladies said, because when I tell you the message for me this season has been like, if you are starting a business or whatever you do, you have to address your trauma and your shit because that shit will spill over into your business. People are always asking like, oh, can you give me entrepreneur advice for my business? And it's like, you old me,
get therapy.
If you like old me will literally give you business advice. New me is like therapy. Address your trauma. Work on your shit. It will spill over into your business and then you will find yourself like, how the hell did I get to this point? And it's because you didn't address your shit. Especially when you have business partners involved, when you have a team involved, you have to address your trauma and your shit. It will spill over into your business. And I promise you, just work on it now so you don't even have to get to that point, because I cannot tell you how much of a difference it has made. Like me addressing my own shit, me going to therapy, me looking in, it literally will spill over into your business and you won't even catch it. But if you have that awareness prior to launching the business, prior to going into that partnership, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. So I just had to drop that little gem because
Yes,
Bring
address
on the
your
loose-
shit.
Yeah.
Bring on the loose change. These are
Absolutely.
gems right here.
And unless your shit will address you, trust
Ooh, that's
Ooh.
me.
That-
Because
Every
it's
time.
happened. I'm saying it from experience.
Yep.
I've had my ass handed to me by my
Yep.
shit.
Mhm.
And it's
it-
like, oh, look at me, not feeling like I deserve. And I was really leaning into what you were saying, Rochelle, because the thing is about what you feel you deserve.
Right.
And so you miss the bonuses, you miss the blessings. The amount of people recently who've been wanting to give me money, and I've been like, oh, well, I really just don't like it. And I'm like, girl, what is wrong with you? They want to give it to you. And again, I've got to work on this deserving. Yes, if someone wants to give, it's fine. I don't need to be
Look
self-sufficient.
at how hard. Look at you
Yeah.
need money. You
Right.
need money, and people can't give
You're
you
a
something,
man.
and you're like, money. Me?
Right,
You wanna give
right.
me money? I
Right.
don't know why you want to give me money.
Yes, and the
It's
lack,
just like-
addressing the lacks, the areas of your life that you're lacking in, because if you don't fill those holes in yourself, you're gonna go and look for them out subconsciously. You
it.
don't even know, and
Yep.
you're like, what? How did I end up here? And it's crazy because I've been with my therapist on and off for 8 years, so we have a really dope relationship. And she be like, I be looking at her sideways when she be bringing up incidents from like 2012, and she's like, remember in 2012, this and this happened, and that right there is connected to this because your lack of boundaries. And I'm like,
All right.
She's just reading me.
You might be right,
therapist.
but you didn't have to say it.
Yeah, right, isn't it? You could
No,
have
but
just
that's what you
emailed
paid her
me.
for.
You don't need to
I
make
know.
Yes,
That's what you paid
yes.
her for. So
Yep.
yes, bring up all that shit.
Yep.
Bring up all that stuff from
Good.
2000.
Remind me.
Bring up from 1980,
Yes.
1981
Yes.
when I was born, because that's when I need to know, figure that shit out.
yes.
That's why
And what I
put-
realized too is that we're all just adults trying to nurture our inner child. That's really what it is. Like all that shit
Yes.
that you like went through as an inner child, your adult self is literally just trying to process it. So please heal your inner child.
Very much so. Yes,
Yes.
I approve that message.
So we do have a question. I have a question from my sister Jazz, who's a mother. So this one's for Rochelle. She would like to know how to find your rhythm between motherhood and your craft.
There's I don't think that there's a pretty answer to that. The reality is that, you know, my children, I stayed at home with my children until they were 3.5 years old. That was a luxury, but that is also what television development gave me, right? So I had a nest egg in the midst of, within 1.5 years after giving birth, divorced. Financially, you know, bottomed out, right? So that meant that I need to work. And my whole idea was, how do I create without having to leave them? You know, so that was also an inspiration for me. Now, my kids are shop kids. You know, they grew up in my stores. My friends pointed out when I was celebrating about Oprah that, you know, I started out vending in street fairs with toddlers, you know, and that's hard. That's not an easy thing. You know, should I have maybe been at the park, and should we have been able doing this and whatever? But like, you know, they help me now with my stuff still. And they understand money, and they understand drive, and they understand that work comes in many forms, you know? I think that the balance comes in making sure that when you're with your children, you're fully present. Right? So if you can't be with them during the day, yo, dinner and bedtime are like amazing. You know, even if it's because, you know, like I said, there's no magic formula that I can give to you, but I can tell you that the points are, if you are able to allow your children to feel that they are heard and seen, and you are able to dedicate very special times during the day, breakfast, dinner, bath time, story time, bed, that's all they'll remember, you know? And if you know that you're creating those things for your children, the load on your back becomes lighter. Because now you don't have to feel like you're overcompensating. You need to compensate with material things, because you've already compensated with your time. You've already compensated with your engagement and your knowledge, you know? So when you do have to say, sorry, mama has to do X, Y, and Z, but we're gonna read a story tonight. They already know what they can, they trust you, and they know that they can count on you to give them those things, you know? So I'm not saying, you know, I haven't ran down the street with a toddler in each hand and like stuff on my back and it's all bananas and wild and whatever, you know, but like Simone was saying, which I connected with those women in the market, you know, you do what you have to do.
Right.
But for me, it's always, I hear you, I see you. And when we're together during these times, I am going to make sure you understand that you're my focus. You know? And everything else falls into place.
Yeah.
Really.
That's great advice.
Great advice. Well, apparently I don't know how to use Zoom, and my response to Autumn went to everybody. That's the real life, and I'm an open book. I'm ultimately very transparent. So if you know me, you know me. If there aren't any last pressing questions, we would just love to get like a quick one thing that you want to leave the audience with, and anyone who will see this afterward. What's one takeaway that you want to share with everybody in relation to creativity, entrepreneurship, and like Black HERchandise? Because this armor thing is giving me all kind of life. Y'all don't even know.
Yeah.
Armor gave me
I was going to say, before we get to that, there is questions in a Q&A box that's a little bit separate from the chat. So there's a question from Jasmine Rosado. How has the pandemic affected your business as an entrepreneur?
Okay, there we go. Perfect.
Definitely has slowed things down a lot, which from in exchange for me personally has been good, because I needed to slow the fuck down to like catch up with myself.
Yeah.
And that has been this pandemic. It's really hard to even say this, and I still struggle with saying this out loud. It's like the best and worst thing that has ever happened to me, because I've learned a lot, and I needed to go through these experiences. And once I flipped it to like everything is happening for me and not to me, I was able to really lean into the gift of what these experiences are and what the pandemic has been. But
could you say that one more time?
Everything is happening for you and not to you. And once you approach everything from that lens, it just completely changes the experience, and you really see the lesson in what you're going through instead of the hardship. It has been life-changing for me, but it has definitely slowed things down, but I think for the best. You know, I could have, a lot of people are like, why didn't you launch your robe for the holidays? I could have had my robes launched for the holidays. Yes, absolutely. Did I want to put that pressure on myself and my team and my manufacturer to turn things over to make a profit? No. And I'm also a perfectionist, so my robe sample, it's great, but I want it to be greater. So I'm like, I'm gonna take my time and really sit with this until I feel that it's perfect, and then I'll roll out when I'm ready. I don't need to be pressurized by society to have a holiday rollout just because it's the holidays and everybody's out here to make money. I'm okay with sitting this one out. And when I tell you, I am so glad, because all of my friends that are entrepreneurs that are having Black Friday sales and everything, I'm just like, girl,
yeah.
What I am doing is I did do a roundup of my favorite businesses to support, and I will be adding you ladies on there after my support page. So it's like, I'm not having a sale, I'm not doing anything, but what I'm gonna do is, you know, put a spotlight on other Black and brown owned businesses that are. So yeah.
Amazing. I think for me, I mean, so, you know, being a Mackinac market woman, and always the lesson, right? You diversify your income. And so I, as I said, my background's PR, marketing, and very recently I work in TV. So Rochelle, I am a Viacom, an ex-Viacom person. I was working on the international side of BET.
I've been watching everything you're doing since you launched. That's like a whole other story. That's a whole other. I'm gonna slide in your DMs a little later.
Yeah, can we have a whole talk?
I've been a fan for a long time.
Okay, we're gonna have to talk.
And then the thing is with Ada is that I'm not even kidding you, but literally my sister and I were just talking about your company like
Oh my
She's,
God.
she's actually on this right now. So
This is
Oh, hey,
crazy.
we actually spoke about this. And so
Yeah.
when I saw you on, I was like, oh, that's why you see in the chat, I was like, I need one of those yellow robes. Like I want
Yeah.
that
Yes.
yellow
Yeah.
sewing joint. I need
Yes.
a lot of fabric.
Soon
A lot of
we're in the
fabric.
lineup. You just
A
wait.
lot of fabric.
Love it.
Photo shoot.
Yeah, I love, well, the connectivity there, as you can see. But yeah, my team got erased in April, and it was shocking how we got erased. And so, you know, that was like a major source of income for me, which was fueling the business. So I was able to, you know, bring out products as I wanted, you know, because I had this income coming in. But then the income was taken away, and it was like, oh wow, girl, now it's just you and your laurels again. And so while that's not so frightening, because in England, you know, I have always existed on my own kind of merit and stuff, but New York is a little different, right? This is a beast of a city with people with bigger energies than you, bigger manifestation workings than you know, who can really bend the world to be what they want. And so this is why you have to cultivate the lack that you think that you might have, because you have to come with your full self in a city like New York. This city is not for people who are faking it, even though there is a level of people who fake it and they kind of have a profile, but the ones who make it sustainably, right, and the ones who really make it, and they sustainably make it, who have a really thorough kind of understanding of the world, and, you know, always seem to be okay, that's where you want to be. And so yeah, it's really taught me that I have to show the fuck up for myself, and I have to stand in my complete power. And while I know that, to constantly do it was something else. And so yeah, that's where my ass has been handed to me, because it's like, you've been playing small, so now it's like I got to play big and wild and do all my crazy stuff, and I think I'm just gonna let fly. So beware, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be crazy.
In March, New York shuts down, right? We have pandemic. People were then in their homes, in which they realized, I don't have no artwork.
Right.
So my
place looks like shit.
They were like, oh, word, I want to put this in my home. And I was like, well, this is nice. People are really, you know, they're embracing their environment. They're like, this is what I've been waiting for. June hits, George Floyd's death, protests. And what ends up happening is the first week in June, and this has been for a lot of Black-owned businesses I know, we were hit with a tsunami of sales.
Which is so crazy. I'm still trying to process that. Like the fact that we came up during such a turbulent, like, what the?
Yeah.
What is wild is the heaviness of that time, right? So there's all this heaviness, and it's just straight up death. It's death. It's, you don't hear me, you don't see me. Why is this still happening? Why is this happening regularly? Why are you telling me it's not happening, right? And I'm going through this, and I'm feeling this, and my sales are astronomical. And you know what it is? It's people buying Black Lives Matter pennants, right? And again, that struggle with that psychological thing where I was like, well, this feels crazy, you know, because now I'm reaching this, basically the tsunami that I talk about for a lot of Black businesses during the month of June is what we've worked our entire careers for.
Yeah.
Pressed into a 6-week period, you know? A lot of us we're not even built for this whatsoever. You know, I'm an artist. I'm an artist who has a business. I'm not a business that has art, right? So not only did I have to deal with what was happening in the street, you know, not only did I have to deal with my own emotions around the reality of police brutality, but then I also, come July, had to deal with the emails in which I was asked by many people who are not Black to engage with them in conversations about race.
No.
Many. And then when I declined, I got unhinged emails. all you do is put letters on, you're not solving cancer, you're whatever, you're this black, blackity, black,
Oh
black.
my God.
Wildness. But out of the wildness is really just the truth that was always there.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Uncovered.
So, right. So I think of the pandemic as this great unearthing, right? There's nothing new. We're not seeing anything new.
No.
But with this unearthing, like when the sands move over something and all of a sudden they're like, oh, there's a tomb there. It's like, yeah, tomb been there. You'll just see it now, you know? So it's just this great unearthing. And, you know, a lot of things are going to come up out of it that are going to be wonderful and beautiful and magical, and they're going to stand the test of time. And other things are going to be brought down. You know, civilizations are going to have to step aside, and other things are going to have to be reborn. Yeah. But I feel like the pandemic, as far as entrepreneurship goes, is it made you face whether or not you wanted to stay in this game.
Right.
Yeah. It made you have to reconfigure your goals, your thoughts, and where you were going.
Yes.
For some of us, it meant, how do I scale up? Can I scale up? What does scaling up look like? For others, it meant, you know what? I can't have a store. Can I have an online shop? You know, again, with that, to touch on what Simone was saying about working with the tools that you have and to, you know, filling yourself with the things that you need. That's what this time as being an entrepreneur for me and for many people I know has been about. It's been about unearthing the things that are inside of us and being a little bit more honest about what it is we do with our businesses.
Yes. That's yeah. And that's what is it you want? What are you doing? What are you doing? That was what this was about. What are you doing?
Right. And do you want this?
Yeah.
You've been saying you want this, but now you got it. So what you gonna do?
Do it right.
No?
Right.
Or is it time for me to go? Is it time for me to stay? Like whatever these questions are that we all struggle with ourselves, this time, whether it's been inside, just being inside, looking at yourself like, well, I guess I'm gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
Or being forced because of loss of work, loss of wages, sickness, insurance, no insurance, all these new weights that have been put on our back, you know? It's a time to stop looking around. Look directly in the mirror and figure it out.
Absolutely. I mean, you just gave us a whole word. What you think, Autumn?
Yes, lots of loose change. Lots of loose change.
My pockets are full.
Give you like $1.17 there.
At
least, you know. But you're right. It was a mirror. It was a moment, and it was like, and if you didn't answer truthfully, you were going to be fucked up. Basically, like there was no other way for you. Either going to be truthful about this, or the truth is going to eat you. And that was it. And we're seeing the effects of people not standing up to the truth, right? We're seeing it. The second wave is here because people don't want to believe that they have to change. They have to change behaviors. They have to change how they feel about their community, that they are part of the community, that their actions directly affect these other people as well as themselves.
Interdependence, as we were saying.
Right. So this is the truth of the matter, right? You're gonna be a piece of shit. Are you going to be someone who's going to be able to plant a stake in your community and help it thrive and survive? And then you also got to know what that means for you, right? Because what I do is not what someone else can do, and vice versa. So those are the things that we were asked of ourselves, and luckily I have been doing that work anyway. So it wasn't so much of this huge psychological shock. It really wasn't. You know what I mean? But for some, this time was horrific for them because they just didn't ever look in the mirror, ever. The way someone, and that was what those barrage of emails are about. Because even in the truth, they're still wanting someone else to do their work.
Who sends someone an email with 8 paragraphs?
No.
That you don't know. That you don't know.
I almost invoiced several people.
Right. Actually, maybe that was the response.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, maybe that was the response.
I didn't have time to do the invoice.
Yeah.
That was the problem.
No, for those folks, 18 paragraphs. Thank you and good night. Thank you and good night.
It's a lot of entitlement.
It's already, I'm just so sad that we have to bring this to a draw. We gotta bring it to a close. Y'all are amazing. Autumn, what are your thoughts about this conversation that we just had?
Yeah, I'm really grateful that all of us could be together and spend some time today. Audience members, thank you so much for joining and peeking in. I know that you got some great pieces of loose change. I'm also glad we were able to answer some of your questions. Make sure that you check out all of the websites that we put for our guests in the chat box. Today is Black Friday. Tomorrow is Small Business Saturday. It's so important to support small businesses. Like, we talked about how cute everything they make is and how it's our armor and how you can look good and do something really cool, but it's also great for our economy. Small businesses, they make up about 2/3 of the jobs for folks in the United States. And it supports about 50% of the activity of just the US economy. So make sure that you're buying from small businesses and buying some really cute Black HERchandise. So go to their websites, pick up something cool if you want to make it a gift for yourself or a gift for the holidays coming up. And we're really excited to see you again in a couple of weeks. When are we meeting up again, Tasha?
We are meeting up on December 3rd. No, not Lord have mercy. I'm blonde, y'all. December
The 11th.
Y'all just got me so excited. I don't even know what to do with myself. December 11th, Jalen will be with us again. Shout out to the Freelancers Hub, for, being an advocate for this conversation. So we wouldn't be able to do that. I mean, we would have done it regardless, but it's always good, again, to be with community and then people that support your vision. This was, I don't even know where to begin. I'm probably gonna find my journal and write some of the things down, because this was very affirmational. And again, to see the point of intersection that we didn't plan for was really magical. And I'm really full. I am fed. I am nurtured. I have this armor, and I want us to all continue to do what we set forth to do for ourselves and for our community. So really, thank y'all. Remember the commandment, thou art pay us.
Yes.
Thou art pay these amazing women for what they're bringing into the community beyond the goods that we are holding on to. And y'all have a great, great night.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. So brilliant. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And we hope everyone has a great weekend, and definitely support small business for tomorrow. We'll see you next time.